Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this drawing of Timon from the movie The Lion King. I'll start out with some simplified shapes and I'll add my details right on top. If you'd like to download the border that you see here, the link is in the description. So grab your pencil, your eraser, and get ready for some fun. Let's draw Timon from The Lion King. Okay, I'm all set up, ready to draw Timon from The Lion King. Now I have this border which is 8 inches wide, 5.5 inches tall. Got my title, got my name, my reference point, and I'm ready to draw. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to put in this line of action. And the line of action, I'm going to look at 3 locations to find it. So here I go. So I want to look at my reference point, and I want to see about how far away from it my line of action is. And I think it's somewhere about there. All right. Then I'm just going to go ahead and take that upwards, just kind of in a gentle curve like this. And I'll put a little bit of a curve into it. I'm thinking up here, something about like that, touching my border as you can see. Now as it comes down, one thing I want to notice, if I came down straight from my reference point, it's going to be pushed over just a little bit to the right. So I'm going to draw that in. And I'm going to bring it down, put just a little bit of a curve into it, and I'm thinking something like that. So this will kind of give me a line of action, as you can see. Now, as I have discussed many times before, the most important thing is to get your first shape correct. So what I want to do is I want to sketch in a location for that circle. Now, most beginning students just draw a circle and then they try to figure out why it's wrong. But instead, what I want to do is I want to mark some spots, see if I can locate it, then I'll draw it in. Okay, so what I want to do, I'll start here at the top. I'm going to come down my line of action and I'm going to ask myself how much negative space is there from the top of my circle to my border, and I'm thinking of a spot, something like that. Okay, down here at the bottom, I'll come up my line of action, and I'm going to put a mark, maybe something, maybe about right here. That looks about right. Okay, now it's critical over here on this left side. I've got to leave enough room for his snout and his nose. So when I'm coming in towards the right, I'm looking and I'm thinking of a spot that's about right in here, maybe about right there. Okay, and that will give me the side of the circle that's on the left. Okay, now over here, I'm going to let my reference point help me. I'm going to ask myself, okay, how far away is it from my reference point? Maybe here. Okay, something like this. And then if I take a look at my negative space, I've got to leave room for the back of his head. And I'm thinking that that looks also just about right. Okay, so a lot of students think I go too slow at the beginning, but I think if I take my time at the beginning, it'll turn out good for me. Alright, so I've got this square, rectangular type of shape here, and what I want to do then is draw some type of oval or circle that touches the 4 sides of it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sketch this in. I'll start here at the top. I'll curve downward. I'll hit my mark over there as you can see, and I'll continue going towards the bottom, hitting my mark there. That's looking pretty good. And of course at this stage I want to work light, loose, sketchy, kind of messy. All of that is just fine. And then coming over here, I'll hit the side of it here on the right, bring it up, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. Okay, so that gives me this nice oval to represent kind of his skull area for Timon. If I take a look and see how my line of action kind of divides it, I can look at half of it right here, feeling pretty good about it. The other half also, feeling good about that. Okay, so I feel really good about my first shape, and I think I'm ready to move on. Okay, I'm going to sketch in another curving line here that's going to show me the center of his face. So I'm going to start right here, and it's going to just curve, and this will show me the center of his face, because obviously his face is tilted, and I want that to be somewhere about there. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right. Now he's got this interesting shape that is for his snout and kind of the back of his cheek, so I want to work on that. And I'm going to put in a couple marks. First of all, it goes kind of right through my reference point, so I kind of know where that is. So if I put a little mark here, and then from my reference point I'll go up, and I'll just stop right there when I hit the side of my circle for a moment. Okay, then coming downward, and then I'll curve it up, and I'll stop once again when I hit the side of my circle. I'm thinking something like that. So I've got this nice, fun, curving line coming across my circle. Okay, now I want to let my negative space help me, so over here, I'm going to mark my negative space, and I'm thinking of a spot obviously close to my left border. So I'll put a spot right there, and that's a spot for me to go to. So as I continue this line, it's going upward, and I'll get it kind of curving, and I'll bring it out over here, and I'll stop right there when I hit my mark. All right, I like that line, that looks good. Okay, then I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my circle, and what I want to notice is that it continues going downward, and then it's going to curve up like this, and sometimes I just like to have my pencil go in that motion, barely letting my pencil touch my paper to kind of guide me as I draw that, and I'll go over that just a little bit more, and I'm thinking something like this. That looks really good to me. Nice curving shape. And once again, I want it to go downward and be a little bit lower like this than the bottom of my circle. Okay, I think I need to bend that down just a little bit more, so I'm just going to adjust that just a little bit, something like that. And never be afraid to make an adjustment on your drawing at the beginning. It's a better time to do it instead of later, which causes more frustration. All right, now let's continue that shape. So now, of course, I'm going upward in this direction here, like this. That looks about right to me. And then I'm going to curve it off the back of that shape. Just kind of curve that around. You kind of see the motion. And I want to keep that nice curve as I come up like this. And I think that looks pretty good. I'll make it just a little bit more, a little bit bigger, out to the right just a little bit. Okay, I've got this nice shape right there. Okay, now while we're down here, let's go ahead and finish off that neck. And I just want to look at the neck. I want to compare it to my line of action. And I'll just bring that down right there. That looks good. Okay, and then the other side of his neck, I want to see where that touches. Maybe about right here. And I'll get this going this direction. And then curving downward, and I'll just bring that down right there. Now, while I'm here, I can go ahead and put in just the top of his shoulder, and I'll just mark that. I'll just draw it right here. I know where I'm going, super easy. I'm going right to the corner of my border, so I'll just draw that in like that. Okay, now one more shape to do. I don't really know what it is, but it's something coming off the back of his head. Alright, so let's take a look at it. I want it to be over here, about this close to my right border. So once again, mark my negative space, so I know where I'm going to. It's going to start right here, near to where the neck connects, so about right there. And I'll just kind of bring that down in this direction here. Curve it a little bit, bring it over like that. Now, when I finish the top of it, I've got to really notice for myself is how close it is to this shape here of the back of his mouth, his cheek, whatever this is. So I want to make sure I've got it about this close. Okay, so I'm just going to come off the back of his head. It's a little bit of a curved shape to it, and I'll come over, drawing towards my negative space mark. I'll hit that, that's about right there, and I'll just bring that down and connect it right there, like that. Okay, and that's about it. Got some nice, simplified shapes for a drawing of Timon. It fills up my space. I like the negative space above his head. That's going to be important. We're going to put some hair up here later. Negative space here to the left. Looks about right down here as well. Got some good negative space here to the right. And at this point, I would be ready to jump in to the very fun details of Timon from The Lion King. I'm now set up and ready to draw the details for Timon from The Lion King. Now you can see I have a blue line drawing of the simplified shapes that I've made with this official blue animator's pencil. And what I want to do is I want to leave all these simple shapes on my drawing, and I want to draw the details with this regular yellow school pencil so that you can see my simplified shapes and my details at the same time. Okay, first thing I want to do is I want to draw the nose of Timon. Now, I know this nose is out here somewhere, but I don't know how wide it is. And what's nice is if I take this line right here, make this mark here, and if I draw it straight down with a vertical line like this, that'll give me the width of Timon's nose. So what I want to do is I want to begin to draw using this simple shape as a guide. And what I want to do is I want to draw kind of a rounded triangle for the nose of Timon. So you're noticing that the side of the nose is going to come down. It's going to hit this line that I've made. And I want this to curve over like this and become this rounded triangle for the nose of Timon. So you can see there's the bottom of it. I don't want that to be too sharp. I'll just sketch that in like this. There you go. Now, I'm still going to keep this drawing fairly sketchy, rough, and loose at this point. So I don't want to worry too much about my line quality. At this point, I'm just worried about getting my details in the right place and have them be also the right proportion. Okay, so there I go, starting off with the nose of Timon, which I think that looks pretty good. And I'm ready to move on. So what I want to do now is I want to use this nose to help me draw some additional details. Okay, so I'm going to start on this eye. Now to start the eye, I'm going to start actually on the nose, and I'm going to draw a line that curves up and runs into this blue center line that I had on my simple shapes drawing. I'm going to take this line up somewhere up in here. I think that's about right, and I'll just leave that alone for a moment. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to draw the bottom of his eyelid. So I'm going to come up this line a fairly short distance to about right here, and I'm going to draw upwards and to the left a short line that's going to give me the bottom of his eyelid. Notice that, if you would. Okay, then I'm going to come up, I'm going to curve up over to the right to a spot about right there, and that's going to give me the shape of this first eyelid for Timon the meerkat. Okay, then right under this eyelid I'm going to sketch in an eye with a nice rounded line like that, and that'll give me the eye of Timon. And then right here on the side of the eye, right here, there's a small line, slanted line, which I'll draw like this, which will give me the other side of his face. Okay, great. I think that's looking really good. All right, now the next thing I want to do is eyelid number 2. And what I want to do is I'm going to take the bottom of this eyelid and I'm going to continue down with the same angle. I'm going to draw this over, downward and over like this until I hit this blue line right there, kind of close to my reference point. And this line is actually going to be part of the bottom of eyelid number 2. But do you see how I've kind of put them on the same angle like this? That's very important. Okay, next thing. I'm wondering how close the second eyelid is to this line here. And I'm going to put a distance mark that's about right here. Okay, so that's about how close I want the two eyelids to be. And then one thing I need to notice is that eyelid number 2 is going to be a lot lower than eyelid number 1. So that means I need it to be somewhere, the top of it, somewhere like this. So I've kind of developed this area here for eyelid number 2, and let's go ahead and draw that. Okay, so it's going to be like this. It's going to curve out here like this. It's going to kind of be in this location. I'm going to make it a little bit more rounded at the top, like this. Coming over, and I'm going to turn downward, and I'm going to connect just a little bit upwards about right there, and I'm going to connect right there for the side of eyelid number 2. See how those didn't quite connect? That's how I want it to be. Okay, so let's go over that just one more time here. Make these lines a little bit darker, still keeping them sketchy, and I'll come over like that. Okay, let's clean that up just a little bit. I'll get rid of some of my marking lines like this. And I also want to erase right here so that the two eyelids are now disconnected, and I'll do that by erasing just like that there. Okay, excellent. Let's put on eye number 2. So here at the bottom of the eyelid, I'm going to come in just a little bit, and I'll put a mark right there. That's where I'm going to start this eye. It's going to be nice and curving, and it's going to curve down and run into my blue line simple shape right there. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue that. I'm going to stay connected to my blue line simple shape. I'm going to come up and I'll follow this simple shape that I have here. I'll follow it around, down, and for right now I'll just kind of stop there at the end. Okay, now then let's go back to the side, let's work on it a little bit more, and let's sketch in the side of the eye, and let's make this kind of a nice oval shape. Did you see how light I did that? Let me just go over that a little bit more. There you go, just like that. And that gives me eye number 2. Once again, we want to make sure that eyelid pokes out further than the eye. Okay, great. Now, coming over here, I'm going to find a dot. I'm going to use my reference point, and I'm going to come over, downward just a little bit, and downward to the right, and I'm going to put a dot about right there. Okay, now that dot's going to be important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw now, curving over to the right like this, and curving downward just a bit, a smile line, a wrinkle when the character smiles, right there. Okay, I'm going to clean that up just a little bit. I'll get rid of that little marking line. But that is an important line. It gives us some nice expression to Timon. Okay, then at the end of my smile line, I'm going to connect another line right here, like that. And it's going to connect to my smile line and then break away about right here. Okay, now let's leave that alone for a minute. Let's come back to the bottom of the nose. I'm going to come in just a little bit, and I'm going to put a mark right here. Okay, so what I want to do then is connect from here, and I want to go up to here. You can see my pencil kind of showing you that motion. Okay, and that's what I want to do. So I'm going to come down, pretty much following my simplified shape, drawing light, making it nice and curving, and this is the smile that we're going to give Timon. And it's going to come up and connect right there to our smile line. Again, I want that to be nice and round here at the bottom, not too flat. We'll come up like that, and there you go. Okay, and that'll give us the smile for Timon. Okay, now his lip. Now his bottom lip is going to connect somewhere along this line here. But I want to be very careful and precise, and I want to know where that is. Okay, so I'm going to use a technique called drawing by comparison. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at his eye, not his lip, but his eye. And I'm going to cut his eye in half with a vertical line that goes straight down until I hit his smile line right there. And right there, I'll put a little dot so you can see it, that is where I want to start drawing his bottom lip. And the edge of it lines up inside the middle of his eye. Okay, so once I've located it with this dot, I want to get rid of this line. It was temporary, but I just used it to locate another facial feature so that my lip is in the right position compared to the eye. Okay, so right here I'm going to curve down below my simplified shape, and I want to give him a nice full lip, curving down, across, and up just a little bit. About like that. Okay, and that'll give me my bottom lip. Okay, while I'm down here, I'm going to notice I've got my blue line simple shape for his neck. I think that looks pretty good. I'm just going to draw over it downward until I hit my border, and that'll give me the neck of Timon. Okay, then I want to go back to my smile line, and what I want to do is I'm going to draw downwards and over and down until I hit coming downward, and I'm going to hit about right there. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Just like that, as you can see. Okay, I'm going to connect that up just a little bit, just like that. Okay, just a little more of a curve into it, right there. And there we go. Okay, so I've got this line curving down, and did you see how it didn't quite line up with this other side of his neck? That's important. I do not want it to line up with that side of his neck. Okay, let me show you what I mean by that. So let's follow this line around. Okay, we stopped drawing about right here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to draw downward over, bend away from our simple shape just a bit. We'll come down, bring that down like this. And we'll bring that down to our bottom border, as you can see. Okay, that looks fantastic. All right, let's continue. We've got a lot of the hard stuff done, just a few easy things to finish up here. Okay, let's put on his shoulder. I'm going to draw over that just a bit like this, going right into the corner of my border. Okay, great. All right, now let's come back here to the top of his eye and let's continue. And let's do a shape that is above his eyelid. Just a little bit of a loop right here like this. Right above the eyelid, we'll just put that little loop, as you can see right there. Okay, nice. Then let's draw across, kind of straight, a short distance. Maybe about right there or so. Okay, and let's leave that alone for just a moment. Okay, let's continue. Now let's draw in a stripe on his head. It's going to come down, be very close to this shape that I have right here. And then right where I get to about the same height of this top eyelid right there, I'm going to bend it, and it's going to change direction, and it's going to go this way. Okay. Now, this line's going to come down here, and it's going to touch about right here on that circle for his head. Okay, so I'm going to sketch really lightly. It's going to come down and touch about right there. Okay, let's draw over that just a little bit darker. There we go. All right. Now, let's talk about the drawing through technique. So actually, this stripe is going to continue flowing into the back of his head. Now, a beginner might want to draw over here somewhere, but what I want to do is I want to take this line and I want to continue it through his cheek downward like this until it comes out on the other side, and I want to continue down, bend it a little, curve it a little like this, hit my simplified shape, use it as a guideline, and draw over that. Okay, now that's called drawing through. So I took this line and I drew it right through his cheek. So it made it look like it came out in the right spot on the other side. Okay, now then I want to take my eraser and I want to get rid of that section which is behind his cheek. Okay, great. Alright, that's looking good. And then I've got the back of his head shape over here. I'll follow this up. I'll round that just a little bit more like that. Okay, looking great. Alright, time for some hair. Time for some tufts of hair. Okay, so from the top of his head, I'm going to slant up and to the right. And I'm going to put a dot right there. And that dot, then I'll erase this little guideline here. That dot is going to be for the point or the end of his hair. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that back downward to right there. Okay, so I'm going to draw that like this. And that hits it right there, as you can see. Okay, then I'm going to continue down his head to a spot right here, and I'll put another dot. Hopefully you can see that dot right there. And I'm going to draw the point of that hair curving downward right towards that dot. And that's going to give me this curving triangle, which is part of his hair. Okay, or hair tuft number 1. Okay, then from the point of hair tuft number 1, I'm going to go up and to the right, about right there. And I'm going to put another dot, okay? Then I'm going to erase my guideline. Okay, so then I'm going to go from here up towards that dot with a nice curve. I don't want it to be straight. Got to have a little curve into it, like that. Okay, and that gives me the point of hair tuft number 2. Then I'm going to go right here. I'm going to come down to this spot where the stripe line touched his cheek right here. And I'm going to slant up and to the left just a little bit, about right there. And I'll put another dot for me to notice. Erase my guideline. And I want to draw from this dot to this one, not with a straight line, but once again with a curving line. So kind of like this. I'll show you the motion. It's going to come down like that. And I'll make that line like this. Nice curve, not too straight. And that gives me hair tuft number 2. Okay, he's got 3. Alright, now for that one I'm going to travel up this line about this far. I'm going to break away from that line. I'll come up fairly short distance right there. Okay, and I'll put a dot there, and that's going to be the end of hair tuft number 3. And that's going to come like this and connect into this line. Very easy to do. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to draw downward with a nice curve. Hit my simple shape line and just connect into the shape just like that. And there we go. It's looking great. All right, just a couple more things to do. Couple more details. All right, so on his eye, near the top of this eye, I'm going to draw another oval shape like this, nice and light. And that's going to be the highlight. I'm going to leave that white. And I'm just going to do some quick shading like this around that eye like that. That looks great. Okay, on this other eye, I'm going to do about the same thing. I'm going to draw a very small oval shape right there. I'm going to do a little bit of shading around it and leave that nice and white, a little shine to his eye. Okay, and then I've got just a couple wrinkles on his snout. They're right above the nose. I'll put one of them like this. I'll make it about that long. Okay, and then I'll do another one right above it, really close, not quite as long, and I'll bring that over like that, and there you go. So as you can see, we started out with a blue line simplified shapes drawing. You can still see that underneath the details. We've drawn in the details, and now we have a detailed version of Timon from The Lion King.